This month I was supposed to start playing Battletech, but I ended up getting into Warhammer, so let's talk about that instead. I have left this much too late today, so I'm trying to be quick with it, as usual, so hopefully I'll go on less tangents. Last month, I talked about getting into board games again and how we had plans to try out some more, and one of those was Battletech, which we did buy, but we never actually played. We also bought a Warhammer 40k starter set. It was the Recruit starter set, which is literally just the cheapest 40k starter set they sell. We actually bought it on the same day we saw John Wick 4. So we took that home and I built it, and I quite liked building the Space Marines, but you also get Necrons in it, and they're basically skeletons, and they're really spiky, and it fucking hurts. Just putting all the pieces together actually really hurt. The Space Marines were alright, because they're rounded and blocky, so they're a lot easier, but anyway. We didn't buy any paints when we first started, so we didn't paint them, and we just played a couple of games. Playing it was kind of fun. There's a lot of dice, and there's a lot of things to remember, and even now we've been playing for a bit over a month, and it's still really confusing, but it's fine. I honestly just prefer building the stuff. Eventually we ended up going to the store, and one of the guys there just taught us how to paint the stuff, which my wife really likes. So between the two of us, we kind of like all of it, except for neither of us really care about the setting or story stuff. The story just doesn't really interest either of us. We've since then ended up buying a lot more models. My wife got some of the Tzeentch guys, a Changeling and someone called it Ahriman, I think. And I got some Chaos Space Marines and a Helldrake, because I think the Helldrake looks cool. We've basically just chosen our armies based on, I think that one model looks cool, and that's how we chose everything. It's been alright so far. It's very expensive, so we're not really going to do much more with it. I will say that I'm also not a big fan of how, in the starter sets, all the pieces just snap together. They've all got pegs. One half has pegs in and one half has holes in, and you just slide them and snap them into each other. And that was really easy. But then every single model we've bought since then, you've had to glue together. And I don't like that they do that. They clearly can design it in such a way that you don't need to glue it, but they don't. I don't really like that. The gluing it isn't the worst. I'm not a fan of how much it smells. Some of the pieces are really awkward because of the gluing. Gluing the arms on. Every single model I've put together, the arms look weird, because I just can never quite get them right. There's one guy, and he's supposed to be dead intimidating, but I've glued him in such a position that he looks like he's just delivering a soliloquy. I ended up putting a skull in his hand, so it looks like he's doing Hamlet now. But it's fine. But they clearly can design it in such a way that you can snap pieces together, but they just don't. And the only real reason I can think of that they do that is so that they can charge you more money, just so you have to buy more models. We've built pretty much everything. The only thing I've not built yet is the Helldrake, and that's because you have to paint the Helldrake before you build it, and I just never have the time to paint stuff. We've got a little area we go to paint stuff, and I'm always doing something else. Whereas, because the building I can do just sat on the sofa, just while I'm watching a video or something, I can do all of that really easily. Whereas the painting, I'd actually have to make time to go and do it and stuff. So, I've just not got around to it yet. At some point I will. But yeah, it's fine. It's been fun so far. I briefly mentioned that we went and saw John Wick 4, and I like that film, but I've also watched so many things recently that it'd be hard to give any of them any decent amount of time, so I'm just going to go through a quick roundup on my thoughts on all of them. So in the last month, I've watched John Wick 4, all of Parks and Recreation, Nobody, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Glass Onion, Get Out, Us, Blade Runner 2049, and Nope. John Wick 4 is probably my favourite, though it's close between that and the first. Parks and Rec is great. I started watching it years ago, but I never actually got around to finishing it, so now I have. The last season's a bit weird, but it wasn't bad, it was just strange. Nobody was cool, and I'd like to see more from that, but I also don't really think it needs it. Everything Everywhere All at Once is probably the best of the films that I've watched recently, and I can easily see why it won Best Picture last year. Glass Onion was good, but I prefer Knives Out. It just feels like a much more cohesive film. Blade Runner I didn't like as much as I thought I would. I really didn't like a lot of the editing. The introductory scene is a guy doing an interview, and then he asks a question, and then gets shot, and then he gets shot again. And there's no, flow. You can just go look it up. The shot comes out of nowhere, which I can understand why they would do that, because it's supposed to be a surprise. When I first watched it, it was a matter of, this was surprising, but then the rest of the scene, which is very short, the rest of the scene was so weird that I ended up going back and rewatching it a few times, because I was just why is it like this? So the guy giving the interview is sat across from the table from the guy getting the interview. The interviewing person asks a question, the other guy answers it, then the interviewer asks a question, and then the interviewer starts to answer it and then shoots him, right? So that is quick and supposed to be a surprise. I get that. What he does is, it's like a wide shot where he fires the gun. Then it cuts to the interviewer's reaction to getting shot. Then immediately cuts to the interviewee, who is now stood up, and shoots him again to the interviewer, who is now flying through a wall. And it's just, those shots are all cut so quickly between each other, it feels like there's no time for the motions to take place. It's so immediate between each one that like there was no time for the guy to stand up from being sat down to do the shot. It just feels weird. The film was by no means bad. Like, there was just loads of like little bits like that where I was like, this just feels weird. Maybe it's just me. Because apparently it's like one of the best films of all time. But I'm like, why is it edited like this? So the film it's fine. I like the themes of the film a lot more than I like the actual film. I also don't know which version of the film I watched. I think it was 2007 or 2017. I saw her in the credits. I can't remember. That had a 7 in it. I also watched 2049. I feel much the same about that, but for different reasons. I think I prefer it to the first one, and I definitely like the visuals a lot more. Not just in terms of like, because it's newer, like the CGI is better and stuff like that, but the colour palette and framing of the shots were all really nice throughout. Jared Leto's a fucking weirdo. Like, it was good. I liked it. I don't know, like, for one thing, because I've watched so many things so quickly, I'm finding it hard to like articulate the points on each of them just because I've seen so many. Also, I'm trying to go through it quick because, like I say, I've left it until about 5 minutes to midnight to record this podcast, and it needs to be done today, otherwise I'm not going to have enough time to edit it over the rest of the week. I also watched Get Out. Get Out is probably the best of Jordan Peele's films so far. I then watched Us, which was also good, but it has a twist in it, and the twist is incredibly predictable. Within minutes of the film starting, the twist is pretty obvious. It's not like obvious exactly where the film goes, but it's obvious what the twist is going to be. Nope was fine. It's not bad. But of the three, it's the one that I like the least, and it's the one I'm least interested in seeing again. I think actually of the three, I would like to watch Us again the most. Get Out was good, but I don't know how much I'd want to watch it again. Whereas Us, I would actively like to see again, even though I liked it less. Maybe there's just more stuff in Us that I feel like I could pick up on again. Nope was not bad. I don't want to say it's bad, but I just don't know what it was, really. I know it wasn't really a horror. I just feel weird about the entire film. Like, honestly, it was not bad at all. I know I keep saying that, but I can't think of any other way of describing it. I want to be clear that I don't dislike the film. I just definitely like it the least of the three. I'm like, oh, that shit with the chimpanzee. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I thought it was going to tie in to the rest of the film, and it just kind of doesn't. So I'm not really sure why it was relevant, unless I just completely misunderstood. Like, why was that girl's shoe stood up? I've got plans to see more films. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is coming out soon, and I still haven't watched Tenet, but that's all the ones I've watched recently, at least. As for my game, this month it was just a small update. I have re-recorded all of the audio for the game. There wasn't a whole lot of it, which is why it was only a small update. I tried to keep it as similar as possible to the original recordings, but just better overall, be that in the sound, because I've now got a much nicer microphone, or in my performance. Some of it is still quite flat, because I'm not a voice actor. Some of it is delivered better, though. Like, I'm happier with some of the lines than I was in the original one. The only thing I'm not super happy with is the death noise. There's a lot of editing that went into the original version of that, and I've tried to replicate it, but I didn't make notes the first time I made it. Because I made everything so quickly the first time, I just sort of, like, did things, and didn't keep track of what I was doing or what I had done. So, going back to doing stuff now, I've had to, like, rework out how I did stuff at times. It's not the worst, because it's not a huge game, but stuff like that especially has been like a real problem. I did manage to remake it as close as I could, and I've made better notes now. If I ever have to redo it again, I've got a record of what I actually did, so that should make the entire process easier next time. So I put that up last week, and I mentioned in the patch notes that if people want, I can make the original audio available. Originally in the notes I was just like, oh, I'll just put it in as an option, but I might do it as like a free DLC if I can work out how, mostly just so that I can learn how to do it. And then people can choose to use whichever audio they like best. It might be nice to do the DLC version just so I learn how to do DLC stuff. But yeah, let me know what you think either way. With the channel, I've finished recording Ishin now, so I know when that's going to end, and I've got a plan for what's going to replace it and when that'll start. I'm also back to recording Sunbreak as well. I had taken a break from recording that for a long time to get my master rank to 100 and farm parts, but I got there and I need more episodes because currently I actually have functionally no episodes for next month, so I had to do some, so now I've got to. So that's why it's not on my stream anymore. Speaking of streams, from tomorrow onwards I won't be playing Animal Crossing anymore. what that means is, with me also not playing Elite anymore and recording Sunbreak for my LP again, the streams will be just 14. That might sound okay, but what I might actually do is stop streaming, essentially, except for on the Fridays when I do 14 for like story reasons, and then for like patch weeks when I just do 14 anyway. The whole thing with the variety streams is that I was just streaming all the games that I'm playing anyway, but I've cut out basically all of my forever games except for 14, just because like it got to the point where I was feeling like I was playing them through obligation more than because I actually wanted to. And with Animal Crossing, I realized that I could just time travel. So if I ever feel like picking it up again, if I start playing from the day I finish playing, which is also why I'm doing it on the first, because it'll be easier to remember, it'll functionally be like nothing ever happened. And then with Elite, I'm not playing Elite because I got up to Elite rank with trading, and seeing as trading's the only thing I do, and I wasn't really working to any goal anyway, I was just like, it'd just be a nice time to stop. I don't know what I'd really do on stream, except for playing, like whatever game I'm playing for myself. And one of the reasons I don't do that is like, when I did the Neon White LP, there was times when I wanted to play the game off stream, but because I had already been playing it just on stream, I figured I might as well stream the entire thing. And I'm not really looking to do yet another LP at the moment. I've not really decided. I've also not even decided, but I might take this week off from streaming altogether, except for Friday. But I'm just not sure. I need to make the decision soon. There is some change coming, but I don't know what it's going to be. Besides that, everything else is carry on. My half hours, impressions, sentences, and LPs are all fine. It's just my streams that will be changing. There is actually one other change, but it's not stuff going away. It's just that I can finally schedule posts on Instagram. So I'm going to be putting up all my impressions and sentences up there as well. There might be some like teething issues while I get used to it, because right now the way I'm going to have to do it is like put all of my videos from my computer onto my phone, then upload them just so I can delete them off my phone again, because Instagram's fucking weird like that. I might do that. What I might have a look at is if there's a way of me just plugging my phone into my computer and uploading them like that. That might work. I don't know. I'm going to see. But anyway, the current plan is to find some way of uploading all of my videos on there as well. What I'm going to be doing is weekdays will be as normal, like you see everywhere else. And then on the weekend, I'll be re-uploading old episodes until all 3 of my platforms, so TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, are all caught up with one another. But I think that's about it. I have so many of these outros recorded now, and they're all basically the same, but here's another one. Special thanks to all of my patrons. You can join them over at patreon.com/Holden Gatsby, and for $1 a month you'll get to see what I'm working on early and get exclusive roles in my Discord along with other rewards I might think of. You can also just follow me there if you want to for free, as it's probably the best place to see all of my content as soon as it's available. There's links to the Patreon along with my Discord, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and all the other podcast platforms in the description for this episode. Finally, don't forget you can email me using podencastby@gmail.com if you've got anything you want to say. Thanks for sticking around. Bye. Special thanks to my patrons, Justin Wood, Hobbs, Koopy Vegeta, and Gunrunner. You can join my patrons at patreon.com/Holden Gatsby, check out my TikTok and Twitter @Holden Gatsby, and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Holden Gatsby. Don't forget to subscribe to all of my channels. If you want more, you can watch my last video now, but if not, then thanks for sticking around. Bye.